So I'm Sammy. I'm the events coordinator at Square Books. We're really excited to have y'all here for Jill McCorkle in conversation with Lisa Howorth tonight. A couple quick announcements. On Friday, we have a great virtual happy hour lined up at 5 p.m. with Alice Randall and Caroline Randall Williams for the book Black Bottom Saints. We're going to have a cocktail from St. Leo that's going to be pretty cool. Next week on the 26th, Tiffany McDaniel will be talking about her book Betty with our bookseller Al Morse, and that's going to be a good time. And on the 29th is Independent Bookstore Day, which we're going to have a lot of information coming up about that soon. But there's going to be a lot of exclusive limited edition items you can get and free audiobooks. So make sure you're checking out our website about that. I'm going to let two more people in, and then I'm going to pass it over to Lisa. So I'm going to let Lisa introduce Jill, and then I will be back for questions and answers. So bye. So Lisa, whenever you're ready.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Thank you everybody for coming and or for being here, or whatever you say about these events. We're glad we could be doing them. We so appreciate your attention to Square Books and your support. And we're very pleased to have an old Square Book friend today, and that's Jill McCorkle. And I'll tell you a little bit about her. I want to congratulate her on Hieroglyphics, which is the book we're going to be talking about, the new book. I've read it twice now, so I can doubly emphasize how good it is, and how much you will enjoy it, and how classic a Jill McCorkle story it is, with a few interesting twists. So I hope everybody's well, and I want to thank and congratulate Jill with my martini. It is 5 o'clock here in Central Time, so
thank you, Lisa.
I ain't going without my cocktail. Let's hope I don't fall over in the middle of this. But
it's great to be here. The only thing better, of course, is to be there in person. But this is what we have, and I'm thrilled to see you.
And you're coming to us from your new home in Hillsborough, North Carolina.
Yes.
Or new/old/new. A new house. That's great. What a wonderful town. Anyway, a little bit about Jill, although I'm sure everybody tuning in knows plenty about her. Jill McCorkle is a critically acclaimed and widely read novelist and short story writer from Lumberton, North Carolina, which isn't that blue velvet country?
They did use the name. They did use the name of the town. Yes.
Okay. Lumberton sticks in my head for that reason. And Jill's published 5 novels and 4 story collections, and 5 of her books have been New York Times notable books, which is incredible. And the last one before this one, Hieroglyphics, and also linked to Hieroglyphics, Life After Life, was a huge bestseller. She's won New England Booksellers Award, the New England Booksellers Award, the John Dos Passos Prize, the North Carolina Award for Literature, taught at many places, many lucky places. And now you're at Bennington. I should have asked you about that. Bennington and North Carolina State. Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
And she's here, and we're so happy to have you, and happy for this venue, even though it's second best. Thank you, Jill. So glad you're here. And here, by the way, in case she doesn't show you, where did I get? There we go. Great book. Okay.
Thank you.
You ready to go? Ready to roll?
Yeah, I'll just read a little bit.
Okay.
I'll read a little bit and then questions.
Okay, you want to read now?
Up to you.
Oh, no, it's a
question first.
Yeah, I'm going to give you a chance to talk a little bit about the genesis of the novel.
Right.
what inspired you to write it, and to give us a basic idea, kind of lay it all out for us in a Tracy kind of way. So I wish we had more time, but go ahead.
Okay. Well, in the background of the present day novel are two real historical events that happened in the early 40s. A train wreck that happened in my native county in North Carolina in 1943, and just barely a year before the Coconut Grove fire in Boston. And so I have four main characters, and the two older characters, a married couple, Frank and Lil, each lost a parent in one of those events. Lil's mother basically went out one night, not saying where she was going, and never comes home. So she was at the Coconut Grove. And Frank's father and mother were on the train coming northward back up to New England in 1943, and his father died in that. And as a result, his mother, well, she was injured, and so she had to stay for that reason in the beginning, because she was pregnant, injured from the accident, but she ends up staying and making a new life there. So Frank has spent some of his boyhood in North Carolina. So it really is a North Carolina, New England connection. And then he and Lil met. They have joked all these years that they bonded over common tragedy, and they have been married, for all these years, living in New England for 50 years, and they've retired to North Carolina around Southern Pines, which is not so far from the train site, because their daughter is there. And so he is very interested in getting back into the yard and house where he once lived as a boy. Lil is going through all of the old papers and boxes from their move, basically editing her life, deciding what she does and does not want her children to know. And the home that Frank is constantly circling and trying to get in belongs to Shelley, a young single mother, court stenographer, temporarily in trouble at work, a lot of trouble in her past that she has run from, and she's raising her little 6-year-old son, Harvey, and he has a point of view. So that's the setup. So these historical events are the backdrop for Lil and Frank, and then the rest is happening, in this very short sort of present day time frame. There is a trial going on in the background. So.
There's a lot going on all the time, and it's not a very linear narrative. I kind of love the way it makes it more difficult to read, but I kind of love the way you've broken up the time periods and the events, so you're going back and forth. It's not confusing or disorienting or anything. I think you're sort of you're very brilliant about doing that, about the way you construct these things very carefully, and they segue from one theme or one thing that's happening to the other in a very seamless way. And I really appreciate that as a writer. I don't think I could do it, but it's quite an accomplishment, and it works particularly in this.
Thank you.
You mentioned Harvey, the 6-year-old, who's the sweet little son of, not so sweet according to some people at school, but the son of Shelley, who's the court stenographer, and lives with his mother, has an older brother away at school. And I'm curious. You're very good at writing about children, and I love writing about children. And talk a little bit about that, and what Harvey is just so delightful to read about, and such a light note in an otherwise very somber and pretty serious book.
Well, as you well know, I mean, the joy of children in life as well as on the page is that they have not grown into that filter that society imposes on them. And there's this beautiful, reckless freedom that comes with childhood. And even though Harvey is, his dad has left, and so he's kind of plagued by that, and he's scared of all the local ghost stories and murder stories that his older brother has filled his head with, Lizzie Borden and the Menendez brothers, and he sort of knows everything. But he was so much fun to write because of that innocence and that kind of clarity, that a child.
I'm sorry, I've lost you all for a second. My tech is, I don't know what happened, but if it's going to happen, it's going to happen to me.
Yeah, I see you. Okay.
It just slept for a while. Sorry.
But anyway, Harvey, so that's how he grew, and it's hard to get a child's voice just right. I mean, I think you're always looking for that piece. I mean, I always tell my students, if they know what a character loves more than anything else, and if they know what that character fears, then you've got all you need. And so when I realized Harvey was born with a cleft lip, and even though it's just this teeny scar, also a wonderful prompt in beginning writing classes. But once he had that scar, I had in mind that it really represented childhood, because he has just been laughing and joyful and just fine up until that point when he's noticed that other people have noticed and other people are looking at him or questioning. And so I gave him a mustache collection. And so as soon as I thought, oh my gosh, here's a child who wears fake mustaches all day long, trying to wear them to school, dressed as a superhero. And as soon as
Super Monkey.
Oh, Super Monkey. As soon as he had the mustaches, though, he took off.
Well, he's a wonderful character, and sweet and funny, and I mean darkly funny often, but very poignant, because he's such a troubled child and has missed so many things that most children have in their lives. And he's very afraid of death, which is something he thinks a lot about death, which is something no 6-year-old should have to do. And I really appreciated that. But in this book, everybody's thinking about death. and I wonder, I mean, you obviously wrote this before Black Lives Matter and the pandemic, and I'm wondering, and we're all thinking about death now, especially those of us of a certain age, and that includes you and me. But so it resonates a lot now, but are you personally finding death and dying more on your mind now in a sort of an unavoidable way? And is writing about it a way to deal with it for yourself personally? Does it help you in thinking about it?
Yeah, that's a wonderful question, and I feel my mind going in many directions. When I was working on Life After Life, which I really had begun before my mother was in skilled nursing. She has dementia. She's been in skilled nursing now for over a decade. So, you learn pretty quickly that you can go into any of these places and see 100 things that will break your heart in a minute. But if you really stay and spend a little time and watch, there's a lot, there's still joy, and quite often there's some humor that you can't find anywhere else. For the same reason that I'm drawn to children, I think elderly characters also, either the filter has worn thin and dissolved, or they just don't give a damn, so there's kind of this liberation at either end of the age spectrum, I think, that I'm attracted to. But when I was writing Life After Life, I had a hospice worker, and so I read many of the books about the care, and I'm just very drawn to those end of life stories. I mean, obviously, for every kind of beautiful story, we probably would have 100 not at all. So I'm not in any way saying that it's I mean, these tragic events, these are all people on their way to life, and everything stopped suddenly, and so I do think that
You're talking about the accidents. I'm sorry.
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yeah.
But I was thinking a lot about what we do leave behind, and I think anyone of a certain age, you've cleaned out a parent's house, or you've started going through your own things, and you start to realize that there are objects and things that nobody will have any idea what this means or where it came from, and we all keep our little tokens and treasures, and oftentimes to someone else's eye it's not a treasure at all, it's a bottle cap, but who you were when you picked it up. And we all have this shorthand, we have a language with people we love and people we've known forever, where one word triggers a story. You don't even have to tell it, So I was thinking a lot about what gets lost along the way if it's not in some way recorded. I was also thinking about how we come to terms with what we can't possibly know in this life, and there are those things, and we don't know everything about our parents. It's big. Forbid what'll happen in future generations if everything's recorded forever. That'll be. I kind of love that so much of ours is left to memory. And memory is not linear. I mean, it is a more organic experience. So that's what. So I hope I answered your question.
You did. It's just a question that has so many other questions attached to it. And one of the things you've talked about, Lil and Frank, and Lil is what, 85, and she's the one who's going back and assembling all these notes and bits and pieces of her life for her children, but she's also writing, and she's been writing things all along to explain to her children about their lives, about her life and about her parents' married life. And she reveals some things about her husband, transgressions, let's say. And I was very curious about that. For one thing, I was thinking, how would my children feel reading about this? Kind of, if I wrote all these things down, would they feel enlightened and enriched or whatever? Or would they just be like, God, Mom, just like her to do something like this and make us all crazy? But I also wondered, I wondered about the children, but I also wondered if it if you think that's a good idea to do
Well,
something like that.
yeah,
And
that's the whole dilemma, and she's sort of trying to decide what do you
right.
say, because
I mean, was that supposed to be a good thing, or was it kind of malicious? Was she kind of attacking her poor husband who
well,
had no?
I did not see it as malicious. I saw it as someone, um, the big piece of her life, never being able to know where her mother was and what she was doing, has set up a whole life for her of having to resolve everything she can possibly resolve. And so I think she sees that transgression as something she wanted to figure out and understand, learn something. At one time, she says, an infidelity is really about immortality. She says, note to T, because it's really about something is missing in life. And she's as worried that she's been betrayed, that information about her or her house or her life, is the whole betrayal.
Yeah, she
Question.
seems. Um, it was. She's a little bitter, a little, but it's very interesting what she does with all of that, and of course Frank just bumbles along, and in the end, well, I don't want to talk about anything
Well,
about the end.
I have to say, I mean, and I wasn't really thinking, I mean, after the fact, I was thinking, I always loved that Catherine Ann Porter story, The Jilting of Granny Weatherall, where
Remember
you've
it,
got this whole lifetime spread out, and then there are these events that stay as the signposts, just reminding you, just like these major accidents, there are those moments in life that set up the before and the after, and we
right?
measure everything by the before and the after. And I think that's what she's doing. She's just trying it on. She's going through all these things the same way Marie Kondo tells us to go through our closet, except it's not just joy she's sparking. It's a kind of knowledge I think she wants to give to her children. I think, you know, both of those accidents also involved a lot of human error,
Right.
and so it's a
One of
lot
the,
about.
the guy at the Coconut Grove,
Mm.
was it the guy at the Coconut Grove who set the fire? He didn't commit suicide. The guy who accidentally set the fire, but it was the
The tra-
rail, right, the
mm.
train worker who committed
But
suicide.
yeah, both of those accidents were just a series of bad choices. Yeah,
Plenty of them out there.
yeah, exactly.
Let's see.
See if there are questions. I mean, I haven't. I realize we just are talking away. I have no problem talking, Sammy. So
Yeah, I was going to say, Lisa, you want to do one more question and then we'll do audience questions?
Let me do one more. Let's see. I felt like Lil's letter, going back to that again, which I'm so fascinated and ed up with, as we say. Beckett, dang it. Sorry, people.
What? There's
I didn't
nothing
do.
wrong.
Oh, well, where?
I don't know where she went.
Uh-oh.
do you not see me?
Got
Now I
you.
do.
Now,
Oh,
Just somebody else.
a
I see.
friend I used to
I
teach
see
with.
my friend Jennifer Key too.
You can see that. That's all that matters.
Okay.
Doesn't matter what you're looking at.
Oh, really? Okay, good. I emit a signal that causes technology to fuck up. You don't mind the things.
That's why
Anyway,
I sit far back and don't touch anything.
well, that's what I'm trying to do, but I don't know. It's like the virus. It's going to get you one way or the other. I feel like probably I've wasted my time with that question. So let's just go to, I have a million of them. We could go on forever because it's
Well,
such
I'm
an
sorry I'm not there because we could just go out and continue.
we could have many martinis and beers and go on forever. And we all will. So Sammy, if you want to invite people and their
Okay.
questions, why don't
So
you
I've
go
got
ahead?
our first question already. It's from Jennifer Key. Hi, Jennifer. So the question is for Jill. How long do you live with your characters to understand them so thoroughly and in such remarkable detail?
You know, I live with them a long time. I mean, some longer than others. I think that I have often had a character similar to Shelley. I'm very drawn to that young woman who's on the edge of society. And, you know, at the end of Life After Life, a lot of readers were upset with me that that CJ was dead and that I had not investigated or solved it. It happens in the background of this novel. That's the trial that's going on. But I made that choice in Life After Life because I think it's completely realistic that people disappear and our society doesn't do, you know, everything necessary to solve and seek justice. And
It's not Hollywood. It's not
it's
Hollywood.
not
Yeah.
Hollywood. And so I'm very interested, the same way I'm interested in representing children on the page, that person in society who has not been dealt a very good hand, not given a chance. I like to have children because I really do believe that if we ever forget what it feels like to be a child, then we have forgotten everything important to know. So, and then the older characters, somebody like Lil, I feel like Lil has been in my head for a very long time. I think, you know, just watching my grandmother's generation and then my parents' generation, and being someone, you know, we're all attracted to certain time periods, who knows why. And I've always been drawn to the 40s. And so it was a lot of fun for me to, you know, really walk around in her shoes.
Okay.
And you know, and I lived in the Boston area for 20 years, and much that I absolutely love about the place. And so, you know, in many ways it was kind of a love song in that direction as well, of a place.
All right. Our next question is, do you have any upcoming projects that you're excited about?
Yeah, I've got some stories on the back burner. I never let go of something without something new. And I usually shift from novel back to stories. I have an idea for a new novel, but it feels a little early to get back in there. So I'm just working on stories now.
That's exciting. I can't wait to hear about it. Okay, here is another one. How has releasing a book during the pandemic been different from releasing a book in other times?
Well, in other times, I would be sitting there with Lisa. I would not be drinking a martini, probably a beer, but I would get to walk all around Oxford and see. And my husband would definitely have gone along with me for the ride. So it would have been a whole trip. So I miss going places and seeing people. Um, after all these years, I had sort of gotten it down to one little tote bag, and you wear black and you change your earrings and or put on lipstick, which we're not wearing much these days with masks. But here, I'm actually starting to feel like I've been some places and seen some people, and then you wave goodbye and you turn around and you're like, whoa, it's like clicking the ruby slippers. I'm home. There's my husband. There are my dogs. You sleep in your own bed. So it's mixed. I'm someone who always actually enjoyed book tours, because it is kind of a legitimate headspace that you don't always get when other things are going on at home. It sort of separated it. So it's different, but this is what we have, and I'm just really grateful to be able to be there.
We
It
were
is
all.
sad,
Oh,
though,
sorry. You go, Lisa.
Oh, I was just going to say, it's been so sad to me as a writer and as a bookseller to know people, all these people who have books coming out right now. I feel sad, and I don't know. It's to work as hard as you do on a book and then have this kind of handicap, which probably won't happen to somebody who's so well established and such a great writer as Jill is. But there are plenty of younger writers I know who have debut novels out, and that's, I think, really rough on them. So
Jamie Poisson's wonderful novel. There is a wonderful season.
yeah,
Okay.
there are some great books out there.
Well, for our final question, we've had several requests, Jill, that you read like you were planning to at the beginning. We got a little sidetracked.
Listen,
I'd love for you to read and close us out.
And it's okay? I'm not keeping us too long?
No, you're good to go.
No.
The people want it.
Okay, well, I'm going to read just a little bit of Lil since we've been talking about her. We all are haunted by something we did or didn't do, and the passing years either add to the weight or diminish it. Mine have diminished, perhaps because I've spent time thinking about it all. It might sound silly, but I see these bits and pieces as my contribution to evolution, the unearthing and dusting of the prints and markers that led me here. Some seem to bulldoze right through life and up to their headstones, but I want to take my time. I want to find the right words. I imagine my recipient to be you two, or perhaps your children, and I hope this is so rather than some stranger who comes in and hoists old boxes into a dumpster or rakes away the remainders of my life like the sad debris in the aftermath of a flood or fire. I'll never get over the sight of what we left behind at our home of over 50 years to move down here. A mountain of cast-off things, old towels and linens, papers and books and shoes and pots, side tables and lamps, hoses and hose, packets of seeds I meant to plant, and a rubber squeak toy that had been safely hidden away in the back of my closet by one of the dogs long dead. And so much more. Things not needed, things long forgotten, cans of cream of whatever soup and V8 juice and peas that had sat there forgotten for years, and things that never should have been there in the first place, like tuna helper, or those things in my closet like that print mini dress I bought in the 60s, hoping to look like Petula Clark or Judy Carn, a perky pixie kind of dress that I never had the nerve to wear, and instead looked at it there at the back of the closet for years, along with a wiglet and a long frosted fall and some jackets with shoulders resembling a football player or Victorian monarch. We divided it all into Goodwill, consignment, recycle, or landfill. But there were also the things I couldn't let go of: letters, reminders, souvenirs, and I'm taking my time, relieved when I find something that might have gotten lost in that mountain of debris, like one of your drawings from first grade, or the stub from a movie I'd forgotten I even saw, or a note from my father. When the moving van pulled away that afternoon and we got in the car and turned southward, the space within seemed so empty, vacant. Our suitcases and silver chest in the trunk, an overnight bag and thermos of coffee on the back seat. And I had that terrible feeling that I had forgotten something, because I was thinking of all the times the car was filled with you two, your belongings, your music and voices, the dogs, while going to school or on vacation or just to the grocery store, where I bought all of those things that I then put on the shelf there in our dimly lit pantry on the red gingham contact paper I spent one snowy afternoon 40 years ago cutting and sticking in place all those things that I put there and then forgot about. In short, I am homesick and I'm time sick. I would be lying not to say that. It's possible to feel content and resolved and still be homesick. I miss all that no longer is, which is why I paste and piece all these scraps together. Sometimes I hold a ticket or photo, a piece of paper, while willing myself back to where I first held it. I know that might sound silly, but it's what I do. I want to hear your young voices, the dog scratching to come in. I want to call my father on the telephone, finger in that rotary dial, one number at a time, TW33642. Let me take this playbill and arrive at the theater, or this receipt and find myself there in the produce aisle of Star Market. Then after the show, after I check out, after I sit and let the car warm up, I drive those familiar streets home and find everything just as I left it, the kitchen door creaking behind me.
Thank
That's
you.
such a beautiful passage. That's
Thank you.
sums a lot up. It's really great.
You have a
And
wonderful
fun.
reading voice.
Thank you.
All right, well,
Thank
that is
you.
our time, everyone. Thank you so much, Jill and Lisa, for being here. This was
Thank
wonderful.
you, Sammy. Thank you for your service.
Of
Jill,
course.
thank you. We'll
Thank
all be together again one day,
Thank
and
you,
all your
Lisa.
fans will see you again, I'm sure.
Thank you so much, and thanks
Stay
to
safe.
everybody tuning in. I really appreciate it, and I'm able to see Jennifer, and it's just wonderful to see her.
Stay safe.
Yeah, you
Love
too.